Hello, thank you for joining us. Today we're going to go over EECO's training tutorials on the truck tire sidewall remover, the TTSR 5-1 model. We're going to go through general maintenance and operational procedures. Let's first start with the tire lifter. This machine has a air actuated tire lifter that assists lifting the tire up onto the cutting device. To find the tire lifter, let's go down to the base of the machine. The optimum loading point of the tire needs to be towards the tip of the tire lifter in this area. In order to activate the tire lifter, we've incorporated a pendant foot pedal switch that you can be moved around to any position that you like. Now let's look at the tire height adjuster. This device can be found midway up the height of the machine with two horizontal rollers. It's actuated by a linear electro actuator using this toggle switch. This device allows you to cut anywhere along the sidewall, either close to the tread or close to the bead, simply by pushing this button up to lift the tire up, creating a cut closer to the bead, or pushing the toggle switch down to cut closer to the tread. Now we're going to focus on the actual cutting device of this machine. The cutting blade is actuated by the air cylinder located right here. This cylinder actuates this arm, which rotates a shaft that clocks the cutting blade into its cutting position into the receiving groove in the drive wheel assembly. Now we're going to focus on general maintenance for this machine. The first item is the grease bolt axle where the tire lifter pivots. This bolt needs to be greased about once a month. There are two 4-bolt flange mount bearings that help locate the drive wheel assembly and assist in rotation. These bearings are located here and here underneath the drive chain guard. Both these bearings have grease nipples and should be oiled or greased once weekly if operating the machine 8 hours per day. Now we're going to focus on maintaining the drive chain on this machine. In order to do so, we first need to remove the top guard located here. There are 5 bolts that attach this guard. 1 right here, 2 on the top, and 2 on the right side of the machine. Once the top guard has been removed, we can now grease this top bearing, tension the chain with this idler sprocket by simply loosening this bolt and sliding the assembly in and out to get the proper tension on this chain. Once here, you can also lubricate the chain with general chain lube. In order to inspect the pulley part of this drivetrain, which powers the gearbox from the motor, we need to remove the pulley guard. These 2 bolts can be removed to remove the guard. Now that the guard is removed, you want to check the tension on the belt. To check the tension on the belt, grasp the belt with your fingers and move it back and forth. It should not move more than 1/4 of an inch in either direction. It is suggested that once a month you check the chain and belt on this machine. Once both guards have been removed, lubricate and tension the chain once a month using general purpose chain lube. The belt also being checked once a month. The belt may be worn after a few months, but unless you hear any slipping noise or if you feel that the motor cannot drive the tire on the machine anymore, check the belt. In order to correctly tension the belt on this machine, there are 4 bolts that need to be loosened up on the motor mount. Here, 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 and here. Once they are loose, the motor can then be moved up or down in order to correctly tension the belt. Once you have set the motor in place with the correct tension, retighten the nuts and you'll be good to go. The next item to check on general maintenance is the blade actuator cylinder. Over time, the seal will be worn and you may need to replace it. If this occurs, you will hear a hissing sound and notice that not enough power is able to rotate the blade to penetrate the sidewall. In order to replace this seal, simply unscrew this cap and call us for a replacement seal if you don't already have one. Another item to maintain on this machine is the clevis bracket. Once a month, check to make sure that this bracket has not been loosened up on the cylinder rod. If this occurs, improper cutting may happen. Simply rotate the shaft in a clockwise direction to tighten up this bracket to the nut. One very important aspect of this machine is the cutting blade. The cutting blade actuates into a receiving groove into the drive wheel assembly. The blade should penetrate this groove very accurately, as detailed here. Notice that the fluidity of this blade going into the groove is very important. Once daily, check the wiggle of the blade. This is very critical to maintaining a proper working machine. The wiggle of the blade can be checked by taking your forefinger and thumb and moving the blade up and down. An operator will gain knowledge of how loose a blade will get over time. Once the blade is wiggling more than 1/8 of an inch, you need to replace either the bearings or the blade. When the blade needs to be replaced, take an Allen wrench and remove the socket cap screw from the top. Your blade may develop chips on the edge. This is okay as long as the machine continues to cut the tires in a reasonable fashion. Maintain focus on the cut quality of the tire before you focus on the cut edge of the blade. Once the machine starts to develop poor quality cuts, then the blade needs to be replaced. This should occur every 2,000 to 3,000 tires. Once the bowl has been removed, simply push the blade out and grasp the 2 washers on either side. Do not lose these washers. Here we can also replace the bearings, which can be bought at local hardware stores or through us. A tool that is supplied by us has pins that go into these 4 holes on either of these 2 shoulders of the blade. Twist them to unscrew them and replace the disc only. Now we're going to go over hooking up your machine to the proper power supply and as well the air supply. Your air supply should be at least 110 psi with a max of 125. The flow rate should be 3 to 5 CFM. Each machine may have a different power supply requirement per the customer's order. Your machine will come with 3 wires that will have to be hooked up to the proper plug from your building. If you're using extension cord, please refer to the user's manual to decide the thickness and gauge of wire that you will need. Now to the fun part. Let's cut a tire. The first thing that you need is to worry about safety. Safety goggles and gloves. If required, use earplugs as well. Take the tire and roll it up to the tire lifter. As detailed earlier in the video, put it towards the tip of the lifter. Use your foot to lift the tire up onto the machine. The control panel has two switches, the green start button and the tire height adjuster toggle switch. The tire height adjuster rollers should be riding on the bead of the tire. Move the tire height adjuster rollers up or down to adjust where you want to cut on the sidewall. In order to do that, use the toggle switch. It is very crucial that the tire height adjuster rollers are contacting the bead on the tire. Adjust the height of these until the bead of the tire is being supported by these two rollers. The tire should spin freely once on the machine. When cutting the sidewall from the tire, the operator may need to use their hands to move the tire manually so that the cut finishes where it started. We're going to push the green button and hold it down until the cut has finished. Let's watch. Once one sidewall has been cut, we need to remove the tire. In order to do so, lift the larger part of the tire up and off of the machine and set it aside. The sidewall needs to be rotated in order to efficiently remove it. Now we're going to cut the other side. Notice that the cut quality on a new blade is very clean. There should be no frayed wires and no jagged edges. One other cool feature of this machine is that you can remove the bead from the sidewall. In order to do that, first move the tire height adjuster rollers to an upward position. Now we can load the sidewall onto the machine. Load the sidewall onto the machine oriented as if it were on a tire. We have built the tire height adjuster to make sure that you cannot cut to a dangerous level to the bead. So the closest you can cut to the bead is when the tire height adjuster rollers are at their furthest up position. Now let's remove the bead. Thank you for watching this tutorial on the Truck Tire Sidewall Remover TTSR 5-1 by Engineering and Equipment Company. If you have any other further questions or concerns about this machine, please contact us via email or by phone from our website at www.eaeco.com.